Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge Contrast. Danke, dass du wieder eingeschaltet hast. Wir gehen heute in diesen gruseligen Wald. Ich weiß jetzt auch nicht, was mich hier erwarten wird. Ich mache hier so ein bisschen Schiss schon. Ach, da ist auch die zweite Attraktion tatsächlich. Na?
Hey, has anyone seen the princess puppet? We can't really start the story without her.
That sounds like Daddy.
Ah, she was right here.
Na dann wollen wir mal.
Ah, there she is. Once upon a time, there was a princess who lived in a castle with her father, the king. The king loved her very much because daddies loved their daughters. Unfortunately, the kingdom also had an ogre who was eating travelers because ogres do that. So the king did what kings do and promised that anyone who slew the ogre would get to marry his only daughter, the princess, and become king when he died. The king's lands were very far away, and the ogre was very large, so only one knight showed up. His name was Fred, and he fell immediately in love with the princess. Fred was a brave knight, and he marched off the next morning, singing a brave song as loudly as he could. After several days had passed, the princess got to wondering what had happened to her future husband. So she set off into the forest to look for him. The princess tracked Fred's footprints through a strange wilderness full of scary sounds and hidden dangers. Chasms filled with razor-sharp bamboo. Fortunately, she was a very brave princess who loved adventures. Just like you. She used her wits to get past unexpected obstacles.
Das ist mal was ganz Cooles jetzt hier. Ich hoffe nicht. Oh. Ah.
She came to a wide river filled with snapping crocodiles. She couldn't even swim. So what do you think she did?
No.
Unfortunately, she fell in the water and drowned. Wait, that's not what happened.
Das ist ja cool.
She came to a wide river filled with snapping crocodiles. She couldn't even swim. So what do you think she did?
She ran on top of their heads.
That's right. It was a magical forest where the plants seemed to know each other. She had to use magic mushrooms to get high or up.
Oh.
Unfortunately, she impaled herself on the bamboo. Wait, that's not what happened.
Warte mal, das wollte ich gar nicht. Ach, ich komme gar nicht höher. Aber so komme ich ja gar nicht höher. Ah, das ist ja doof. Warte mal, wir gucken erst mal, wenn der erste runtergeht. Nee, das war schlecht. Ah! Haha.
She learned to use some bendy tree branches to fling herself across a patch of deadly sharp bamboo. As the sun was setting, she came to the giant ogre's campsite. And there, the princess discovered that the ogre had captured Fred and hung him from a tree as a snack. The ogre did not appreciate visitors at all. Even Fred seemed a little embarrassed to see her.
Mal gucken, was wir jetzt machen müssen. Oh, wer hätte das denn gedacht? Ah, ich darf den auch nicht berühren. Aber was soll ich denn da machen? Wow! Vielleicht irgendwie hinter ihn springen oder so? Keine Ahnung. Na komm schon. Ba, 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 ba.
But the princess was a woman of action, and she was nimble, and the ogre was clumsy and easy to taunt.
Tja, und leider hat er mich trotzdem getötet.
That's when you make fun of someone. You should never make fun of people, but with ogres, sometimes you have to.
Wow, 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 wow. Ich habe es selbst verstanden, aber ich konnte es nicht umsetzen. Ach, verdammt. So, jetzt aber. Hui, hallo. Hui, weg.
And so the princess tricked the ogre and rescued Fred. Fred didn't feel too good about it. He really loved the princess. Fortunately, the king told him about a giant spider that he could slay in order to win the princess's hand. So Fred marched off to the lair of the giant spider, singing a brave song, a little less loudly than before. After several days had passed, the princess got to wondering what had happened to her future husband. So she went off looking for him again. Fred's footprints led her into a dark and creepy cavern, full of strange dripping sounds, kind of like the basement at school. Her footsteps echoed and echoed, until it sounded like someone was following her. Soon she came to a vast pit, filled with vicious, deadly spikes. It was much too big to jump over, but far off, she could hear moaning. She thought it might be Fred. So what do you think she did?
I know.
What?
She used an umbrella.
What?
Like that nanny in that movie.
This is the Middle Ages, honey. Where would she get an umbrella?
I don't know, but that's what she used.
I don't think I have an umbrella.
Well, you better find one, because she used an umbrella.
Where am I supposed to get an umbrella? Oh, there we go. So, the princess bravely threw herself into the air, slowing her fall using an umbrella. Just like that nanny in the movie. She floated down into the cave. Deeper and deeper into the cavern she floated. She thought she could hear Fred moaning, but maybe it was only the wind. Unfortunately, she impaled herself on the bamboo. Wait, that's not what happened.
Warte. Hier muss man sich ganz schön,
Deeper and deeper into the cavern she floated. She thought she could hear Fred moaning, but maybe it was only the wind.
sehr konzentrieren muss man sich tatsächlich hier. Ah, da habe ich schon gesehen.
Finally, she landed softly, right in a spider's web.
Ja, nun? Ich kann nichts machen.
Fortunately, it was a very old web, and she was able to break free. Unfortunately, the web was the only thing holding up a giant boulder. The princess needed to find somewhere to hide.
Oder nicht? Okay, ich hab's verstanden. Ich kann da nicht hiden. Ach so, ich muss zurücklaufen. Okay. Oh wow, das macht mir Spaß. Warte, ich muss erstmal anders hinsetzen. So. 1, 2. Oh, das ist doch noch so ein dummes Ding.
Suddenly, a giant spider jumped out of the shadows and attacked her.
Whew.
She ran and jumped and climbed, but the giant spider was very good at climbing too. It had 8 legs and the princess only had 2.
Oh Gott, mein Mund ist offen.
Fortunately, the princess remembered how the webs were holding up boulders.
Wow.
Poor spider.
Poor Spider. Oh, bitte sei es endlich zu Ende.
Finally, she found Fred. He was all wrapped up like a present for the giant spider's girlfriend. He was dreadfully embarrassed about having to be rescued again. He really loved the princess. The princess decided he was cute. Fortunately, the king told him about a dragon that he could slay in order to win the princess's hand and stop being so embarrassed. So Fred marched off to the mountaintop of the dragon, singing a brave song very quietly.
Na, das war aber nicht Very Quietly.
After a few days, the princess got to wondering,
Why her dad kept trying to give her away?
that too. But she was worried about Fred, so she went off to find him. The dragon's mountain was cold, and the wind howled at her to turn back. There were rock slides and fiery chasms. But she was very brave and nimble, just like you. She wasn't going to be put off by a few deadly dangers. Up and up she climbed. When she got cold, she thought about the hot buttered muffins she would make once she got Fred home. Do you still like muffins?
I love muffins.
The princess hoped Fred liked muffins.
Und starb schon wieder. Ah. Das war aber knapp.
When the princess got to the lair of the dragon, she was not very surprised to see Fred hanging from the roof of the dragon's cave. So she taunted the dragon until it roared its fiery breath at her.
Und starb. Oh. Oh, ist das schwierig. Nein!
Finally, burning away the ropes that were tying up Fred. And so the princess and Fred lived happily ever after. Fred never had to go on another adventure again, and they had hot buttered muffins every morning. There is another version of the story where the princess flew off on the dragon's back to have a life full of adventures, but that's for another day.
Yay! Yay, Dawn, you did it!
Dawn heiße ich. Schatten. So, dann haben wir zumindest auch das wieder geschafft. Diesmal nämlich, also so viele Fails waren es dann ja doch nicht, Gott sei Dank. Bleibt nur noch das Piratenschiff. Das haben wir bereits auch geschafft, was hier war. Schade finde ich so ein bisschen, dass da oben noch eins ist, aber da habe ich keine Lust, nochmal hochzugehen. Also da oben sieht man es jetzt, ja. Ich müsste es eigentlich nochmal machen, aber es gibt leider keine, also wenn es jetzt noch so eine Möglichkeit gäbe, das schnell hinzukommen, dann ja, aber so nicht. Ich habe keine Lust. Außer ich brauche es für irgendwas. Und jetzt kommt natürlich das große Schiff, das wir ja schon die ganze Zeit im Hintergrund gesehen haben, dran. Was wir richten müssen. Oder ich steige rein und der geht nochmal hoch. Nee. Naja, ich verabschiede mich auf jeden Fall bei euch. Ist heute ein kürzerer Part, war aber, glaube ich, ganz lustig und witzig. Dankeschön, dass du eingeschaltet hast. Lass doch gerne auch einen Kommentar da. Bis dann, tschüss.